Well, happy Sunday morning, everyone. Today we are going to kind of head into our second part of this tree tour. You can see here, this is the front part that we had toured last, what was that, yesterday actually. So if you're wanting to catch the first part of that, just go back in and look for the very beginning of this tour. But we're going to head to the back. Last night we did have a little bit of rain, and it kind of weighed this down. So if you watched the first video, you can recall me talking about how some of the do's and don'ts, or some of the pros and cons to some of these different trees and shrubs. And this here on the left side, that's a purple sand cherry, and you can see I was talking about how the rain will kind of weigh those down and impede the path a little bit. It doesn't bother me, but again, I'm sharing that because just in case you're wanting to purchase and add any of these trees and shrubs to your landscape, there are some things that you will be interested in knowing, correct? So one thing I will tell you guys, I appreciate all the comments. I knew this had I felt like this had an iron deficiency, and you guys just confirmed it. So you can see here, if you missed that first part, that veining right there, I was pretty sure that's what it was, and you guys came through and said that's exactly what it is. So we'll do our due diligence and get it in. It's crazy because that's the only branch that's doing it. Everything else is looks healthy, looks fun. So let's head to the back beyond that gate and let's start our second part of the tour. So just beyond this little gate here, right to my right, I have the green giant western arborvitae. I will tell you that the other day I was walking in the home in our backyard, and the sun was hitting it just right, and I happened to look over, and oh my gosh, I seen that it had bagworms. So sprayed it, and we'll just share it with you because, right, everybody's winning and losing in their garden at some point. Well, up at the very top you can see it just has a little bit of browning, and that happened within a day. I honestly look at these things every day, and for whatever reason, boom, it just happened. Those little critters can take over a tree in no time at all. So 'tis the season, right? You're gonna have those bagworms and Japanese beetles invading my garden now, so it is what it is. But I use this as a screening. This emerald green really doesn't even have any kind of like pest or nemesis other than the bagworm, but it's doing very well in this space. I have lifted it up off the ground, a mere 1.5 feet probably, and you can see my little border here. But yeah, there's really nothing bad about these. They're super fast growing. I think I put off about 1.5 feet each year. Maybe for you guys it's different, and perhaps maybe 1.5 feet isn't very much for you in your zone, or maybe it's much more than you would you get in your zone. But working out very well here in our garden. I would highly recommend this. Now there might be something that comes along the way because these are growing very popular. So there might be something that will come along and be a nuisance to us here sometime down the road. But as of right now, those are the 3 trees that bleed into this space. Absolutely love it because, again, very pest friendly. I don't have to do much at all to it. And it takes pruning very well. So as this continues to grow and over the pathway here, I can just prune it back, and then as time goes on, I might end up even having to limb it up because of its stretch into the path. Who knows? We'll see down the road how that turns out. Just beyond these arborvitae is a BLOODGOOD Japanese maple. Really like Japanese maples. If I could, I would just have garden full of Japanese maples and all the different kinds. Really love that that little fine leaf. I like how the leaf is structured. I like how when the wind blows, it kind of moves it around. I like that purple contrast to everything that's green. No fuss. Again, I'm all about no fuss trees. That is newer this year. If you recall, we put this section in here with these big hostas and our little artwork here, and eventually that Japanese maple is going to grow and kind of fill in the gap above me. That bird that just flew over just reminded me the garden feels kind of quiet, and which is surprising because we did get a good rain. There's a nice breeze, but our temperature 2 days ago, I think, was 112, 116 index, 102 at one point. Like, we had like 3 days of just nasty weather. Not to feel sorry for ourselves, everybody's been kind of going through these up and downs, skyscraper type temperatures, but man, it was brutal here for a while. So the nice breeze and morning showers really kind of cool things off and change the tone. But really weird that the garden is so quiet this morning. I really don't even have birds chirping, and oh, there goes one. But typically this garden is just full of life, so I don't know what I'm missing. Maybe there was an owl or a predator that's been by and kind of shut it down. So hopefully it'll pick up here soon, especially for you guys who like that natural sounding from nature. So anyway, right here we have the river birch. Now, if you can recall, we'll go up here. These get quite tall. I think somewhere around 40 feet tall. Probably like a 30-foot spread. The garden will all work its way out when I'm planting stuff in the garden, especially on the perimeter. So all the big trees are on the perimeter of the garden, kind of give me a shade, and we'll get into why I'm doing that as we get into the video and the further we go back. But right now, the reason why I picked these way before I understood gardening and stuff, but the reason why I picked these river birch was because this is a very low growing spot right here, so all the water from the yards and the multiple homes beside us bleed into this space, and everything I would plant in here would have root rot. I lost a lot of money, I had a lot of anxiety because I could not figure it out in the beginning. And then as I continued to research, yada yada, one thing led to another, and then I learned that these birch trees just drink the water up like crazy. Now there's two parts to that, right? So in the beginning when I planted this, I noticed right away, almost immediately, that I could plant just about anything underneath and not have any root rot, and that was happening for quite some time, right? So it's drinking all the water, it's allowing me to plant a lot of things. Now, backside of part two to that is, in doing so, now I've got a much more mature garden. But in saying that, I also have these birch trees are much more mature, so they're drinking even more water, which is taking the nutrients and the water from all the plants around me. So I do have to add a lot more water to the space that I wouldn't typically have to in the other parts of the garden. So they just drink every little bit, and they're taking all the resources from all this low growing stuff here. And so that's one thing to recall, or maybe research and think about when you're putting in river birch into your garden. They will take every ounce of water that you can add to the garden. So you're going to have to really spot check and keep on it. Anything that you plant around that, it's very, the roots are very aggressive and get out there to pull all that water and nutrients in. So the third part, which I hadn't yet mentioned, was, okay, so during the hot season, they typically will start losing their leaves to continue to suck in the moisture, and they will tend to drop little branches here and there. They're kind of a messy. So when I talk about no fuss to the garden, typically that's worked out throughout the garden, but this space right here, they will drop a lot of leaves, and that's just because they're trying to conserve the moisture that they're pulling in. So they're going to drop a lot of leaves. So as we get further into this garden and back into that space, you'll see there are a lot of yellow leaves all over. I think it kind of looks good, but again, it gets messy. So if you're wanting a no fuss tree, I'm not sure this is the one. They will drink all the water around your plants, and they will tend to, as the hotter months get in, will tend to drop their leaves everywhere. And then anytime you have wind storms or anything like that, they're going to drop off little branches. If I can find some little branches, I'll share it with you. But typically when I get out here in the morning, I get that 5-gallon bucket, right? And I'm touring the garden, I'm pulling weeds, I'm clipping what needs to be clipped, and I'll pick up those little branches. But I really like them. However, there are some downsides to having those trees. And I have 3 of them, so it just soaks up pretty much everything that we get in the garden. So let's just head back here. We'll head all the way to the back, but I want to kind of go slow so you can see all the garden as it is. I could start to hear the birds a little bit coming in here. Anyways, we're going to do a perimeter tour of the garden. You guys have seen much of the inside of the garden, but we'll come back here and we'll see what we've got cooking. So these really tall trees, and I'll go up on the porch here in a little bit and kind of give you a tour from an aerial or more highly elevated space. But right here is a sycamore tree. It's funny, I've taken pictures. I'm not sure how it ended up happening. My wife took a picture of me unknowingly when I was watering the sycamore when it was just a little tight, and then it just got to where every July we would plant these, or take a picture of myself in front of this tree. And this is the fastest growing tree other than that birch tree. Now that birch tree, if I didn't mention it, it skyrockets. It grows so fast. Same way with the sycamore. This is a more of a pyramid shaped sycamore. It's going to get really big, really tall. And the way I look at the garden, so if you're sitting here going, well, you've got too many trees in such a small space, it's never going to work out. You might be right, but I've seen forests make its way through, and it all works out. You can see over here, here's another sycamore. So I planted several of these side beside each other. So, well, not several of these, but I planted on the perimeter. I planted the two on the back side to kind of equal out the space. And when I was talking to you guys earlier about what we're going to do in this back garden, what I'm trying to do is everything that's on the perimeter here is going to get big enough that it's going to shade and kind of give a canopy into this middle area, to this grassy area. You can see all the homes. Just if you're kind of taking it all in, just be observant of all the homes that are on the outside of this home. So we're kind of in that fishbowl, like I said. Everybody can look down on us. So I've really needed some privacy because I'm an outdoors guy. But we're gonna eventually shade a lot of this grassy area here and give a canopy that'll kind of peek into here, into this space, and give me some more seclusion and kind of get to more creating this whimsical, what would you call it, hidden garden, secret garden. But nonetheless, here's one of the advantages to owning a few of these trees. So like this birch here, I really like how, so naturally these river birch, look how beautiful. Let me get in here close. Look at the bark on that. I really like how it just kind of flakes. What do they call it? Paperback. You can see the neighbors behind, but you see all the activity behind. You can see the playground. You can see all the homes and all the things that are going on in their garden. And I'm just trying to deflect from that, distract from what's going on there. But one of the things that I do like is these river birch want to protect their leaves. So a lot of times these trees will kind of fold over their branches and kind of come down, and you can see it's just part of my walk path. You can see this one right here, just kind of part of the garden. I really like that idea where you can kind of flirt with everything that's going in the path. So yeah, fun. One of the fun things I can't wait for, and I could do it now, I could actually start, and I might actually start now, but one of the fun things about these trees, this perimeter of trees, is that you can see right here our pathway. And I absolutely love walking under trees and in this garden, and given that the idea that this garden is older than it is. I've talked about that a ton, but I'm going to start adding, I'm going to start researching and trying to get some proper lighting for this garden. I think that will be the next step to elevating this and enhancing the beauty of this garden. But I'm going to start getting different things to add to the garden, and one of the things I'm going to do is get something, some type of lighting that kind of hangs and drops just over the pathway, and but not enough to impede it, but to give another element to the garden. So when we walk through here, we're constantly looking down at all the beauty. Well, when I get back here, I want to kind of have you immersed into the garden and forget where you're actually at. So eventually we'll be hanging some lighting from there, and I can't wait. I've already started kind of researching, but sometimes I try to steer away from what's used continuously, right? So you see something that becomes popular on the internet, and then everybody kind of just takes over and does it. And I just want to be just a tad bit different. I want to add something different than what you would see in the everyday garden, or you know, that's used so much that it's that you don't tend to go, wow, that's a great idea. So I'm thinking about coming up with something myself, and then using, of course, lighting that can be attached and put inside of it. But can't wait to start adding lighting to this canopy here. I will probably have to raise some of the canopy as I go, because I do kind of tend to leave stuff down a little bit lower than I would like, but that's just to kind of give me a break from all the neighbors. You can see everything that's going on back there. And if you've, like I said, if you continue to watch this channel, you'll see peaks of every once in a while having a ton of homes around me. This house is the only house that faces the south. Every other home that's around us faces the east and west, and so about 12 to 14 homes could actually look down into our garden before we planted all this stuff. So sometimes these fun little accidents are for a good reason. So let's look above us. Right here is a autumn blaze maple. Two things that's great about this. One is it's the first thing that, other than eastern redbud giving me color, those color blooms early in the spring, this also, these maple are the first things that kind of start to leaf out as well. So when those two things start happening, I know spring is not far behind. They are fast growing. They are no fuss. I really don't have any problems with them. Maybe in other areas of the viewer's location, perhaps you have issues with them, but these guys have been no fuss. They're really good for my area. We have clay soil, so it holds a ton of minerals. So they get everything they really want here. Their roots are pretty invasive, so you don't want to plant them close to the home. You won't want to plant them close to your neighbor's fence and that type of thing. If you know that it's somebody who frequents outside and does gardening and stuff, you might want to have a relationship with your neighbor before doing that, because you know, if on the other side of the fence, if my neighbors were doing different types of landscaping stuff, this will still or invade their space. So do your research and be that good neighbor that is kind of communicating with them, because these roots will get out there and they will go fast. So do that research. Most of my neighbors have somebody who comes in and mows for them. I generally don't see my neighbors. I'll see one of them that lives up beside my home. She tends to be out there daily. She is retired, so I see her daily out there, but only for, you know, so much time. She's normally just kind of playing with the dog and mows every once in a while. So I know I have to have a good relationship with her in order for everything else to work out. But for the most part, all my other neighbors, I only see them in early spring when the temperatures are starting to rise. Their kids get out there, and then after that, once the hot season comes, I might see them in their vehicles passing by, and that's about it. So anyways, the other part too, probably the best part for these maple are that they will just give you such a wonderful color in fall. About October, November, these will turn reds and oranges, and it's just going to be so beautiful along this pathway here. The sycamore behind me, it really doesn't give that much of a color. It starts to turn brown, but when you start offsetting the yellows from the birch tree, these maple trees get that bright orange and red, and then those sycamores turn brown. Everything plays off of one another, and then you couple that with a few of the trees in the inner circle here that I'll get to. It's just jam-packed full of color in this garden. So that'll be fun to bring that to you guys in October, November, but let's pump the brakes. I'm not ready for the cold weather. I'm not a cold weather guy at all. That being said, I don't like the high temperatures. I can do 90s all day long, but our humidity is pretty high. I've adjusted to it since I've moved to this side of the country, or this side of the state. But anyway, moving on, we've got the back side of a redbud. When I say the back side, because the front side is where our home is. We kind of look down on it. Again, you can see just all that structure there. I absolutely, so I continue to limb up and I pull the green off of some of these lower growing branches just so I can highlight this structure right here. Isn't that fun? and it kind of just gives another element to the garden. And then I just kind of peek right over here, and you can see the water to our pond. So that canopy for that redbud, it's just kind of growing up over there. Let's see, I've got another one. So I've got one right here, one redbud right here, and then there's one right back here. You can see they love to have their roots protected from that sun. So this is working out well because I've got a lot of things planted up around it to protect the roots and give it the shade. They're not big, heavy drinkers. Redbuds typically do pretty darn good here. They have short lifespan, probably around 30 or 40 years, and a lot less than that if you're exposing the roots to the sun. So think about that when you're adding a redbud into your garden. If you're in these zones, you know, 6, 7, 8, and I don't know how far, how high you can go. What zone is too much for a redbud? Maybe there's no such thing, but right here in zone 6A, they want their roots protected from that June, July, August, September heavy sun that beats down on them. But nonetheless, I think it's a beautiful addition to the garden. I'm walking under the canopy now, and like I said, there's the other autumn blaze maple, who comes right off of our home right here. Again, adding a lot of privacy to our garden. So let me pan you around here, give you guys that last look at the canopy that again is immersing and taking over this pathway here. I'll come down. You can see our pathway right there. So that's another space where I can add some lighting as the garden continues to mature. I'm getting into that winning zone where things are just really beautiful for us here in this garden. But yeah, keep it limbed up and it looks really sharp. Protect those roots, and it'll thank you and reward you every year. So really nice. So right up against that maple there is the Japanese maple. I don't know the name of it. I could guess at it, but it's just a beautiful piece for us. The reason why I don't know the name of it, a homeowner across the street didn't really want to mow around it anymore. I talked to him and he said that Japanese maple would do better in our garden than in his. So he's not an outdoorsy guy either. So guess what? I took advantage, and now it's just a beautiful piece right here off of the pond and the deck. Really like how it gives me that purple structure right there, and then it tends to block off this space right here from our neighbors. Again, nothing wrong with our neighbors. We just like a bit of privacy. I'm not there a ton. Yeah, super fun. Anyway, I wish I knew the name of that Japanese maple, because this is a tree tour and I would love to give that name to you. Perhaps you have this in your garden and you can share with us. It's almost like I'm using it more as a shrub, because you can see the bottom. I'm not limbing it up because I really like how it bleeds over our pathway there, or our deck when we go feed fish. But this just a beautiful space right here. So I'm not trying to limb it up because I don't want to see the entirety of that fence back there. Again, I'm trying to make it feel like you're not in a suburban lot. And I think that's one of the ways that I'm winning, by not limbing that up. Let's pan you around here. I always love a good morning right after it rains. It's just the smell, the noises, everything just feels smoother, calmer, and the overall attitude just kind of lifts in my mind whenever we're right after it rains. So here's another redbud. I saved this redbud from, I believe, a Walmart. Maybe, yeah, I think it was Walmart. They were, it was August, and they were throwing out all their trees that hadn't sold. This thing looked tattered. If I can find a picture, I'll pop it up on the screen. But it was no more taller than this empty bird feeder right here. It looked bad, and I brought it home and gave it a chance. Again, I was working on a small budget, and still trying to find my way through gardening. I know that might not look the part now, because there was a time I didn't know diddly and just adding things to the garden. If you're asking why I don't fill my feeders, I don't fill the interior feeders, bird feeders, during the summer months because there will be so much activity. All this coleus would be tore up, tattered, You can see my other feeder right back there. All those, the blackbirds come in and they throw out the bird seed onto the ground, and then the turtle doves and blue jays, everything comes in, but what doesn't get picked up ends up growing up and ends up being a weed for me. So that's why I don't fill these spaces in with bird feed until the winter time, when everything's knocked back and I don't have to come pull weeds. So let's head over here. I've got a prairie fire crabapple that I introduced to the garden a few years back. Bought it in a burlap bag. We'll see. I do keep the bird baths full because I want them to continue to, the birds to continue to come to the garden, but not the feeders, not back here anyways. Back in the further parts where if the weeds grow on the ground and it's covered by taller trees and shrubs, that's how I do it. But anyways, right here we have a prairie fire crabapple. They put off these little berries. Get you in here. So I'm showing you these berries, but in the background, can you see all that color? And that's really what this garden's all about. I want you to be able to look and your mind just to be like all over the place, just seeing how much beauty can be added to a small suburban lot. And as this continues to grow and move towards that center grassy area, it's going to continue going where I want it to go, and that is creating that that hidden garden inside there. So when you walk through that moon gate right there, you're just blown away that you're not surrounded by any homes and you forget where you're at. And then when you step out of it and go out to the front yard and start to drive off, you're just blown away how this was created here in this space. But you can see the redbud coupled with this prairie fire crabapple will bleed into that grassy, I call it the grassy knoll. I don't want to offend anybody because I know the grassy knoll, what it's most known for, and a bad time of our history, but I call it the grassy knoll. I'm not sure why, it just always stuck with me, so grassy knoll it is. But yeah, so during the early spring months, this has a very beautiful purple flower, or pink flower that comes off of there, and I mean it's just covered. And then it's so early on that we start to get the little bees and different insects coming, and it's a pure joy to me to see our garden be one that can help sustain the insect population and kind of allow, you know, life to start beginning here in this garden early in the spring. So very, very beautiful. And if you're planting, if you're thinking about any kind of crab apples, just this one's remarkable. Do your research, but I absolutely love this. It's probably one of my favorite crab apples there is. So those little berries will sustain critters, birds and stuff as the season continues and we get into the fall months. So another beautiful addition to the garden. So I'm going to bring you around here nice and slow. Hopefully this doesn't turn into a very long tour, and if so, I apologize. Right here we have a pom-pom juniper. If you recall, I transferred that, or I call it transfer, but transplanted it from a different location in the garden early in spring to kind of let it stand out over there where it was at. There was a lot going on, so it didn't get to stand out and show its all purpose. So I do have to do some maintenance on it to continue to create these lollipop ball type deals here. I'm not sure what you would call them. Maybe you guys would tell me what actually they're called. But yeah, it's just a fun little element. If I scoot back here, this little path going in front of the shed, just wicked fun. I just absolutely love it. It looks fun, and there's no other way I can describe it. So that right there brings me a little bit of joy. I love how that woody bark structure right there just kind of allows a peek to the other side. If you just stop for a moment and look through there, you can start to see the colors. Some of the colors are starting to die out, getting later into the season. A lot of fun. One thing I should mention before I walk off any further, it's again, no fuss. There's not a bunch of needles that fall off of here, if at all. And it's really fun during the winter because when the snow comes and it kind of sets and rests on there, it gives a good visual and definitely a good picture for Instagram. So the The little bit of debris that you see under there, one are the leaves from the birch tree, and the other part is when I trimmed and limbed that up. It was after I put the mulch down, and so when I cleaned it up, I should have waited till I put the mulch down to clean it up, and I didn't. I did it in reverse, so some of that's early on, but no, it's really a no fuss. So just beyond the juniper back there, the palm, we have a hoopsie spruce. This will get quite large. Couple reasons why I planted it. I love that blue color. I love the cones. You see that there? That's a lot of fun. This will get quite large in some time. It will take some time to get to that point, but one of the things that I'm looking for again is to kind of secure that space, that grassy knoll inside the garden, and create an element that once you walk in there, you're just in a different land, right? You're in a different world. But another reason is just beyond myself, I can see all the neighbors and the playgrounds and everything. So I'm just kind of trying to create that secret garden. And it's just one more, I'll repeat that 100 times over again. I'm just trying to create a secret garden. So nothing more special than that. But it will grow quite large. It's going to take some time. It does block out a lot of the sun and will eventually, and I can limb it up, but it allows for me to plant a lot of annuals behind it that would probably typically not like to be beat down by the sun. I am able to plant a hosta that would not like to be beat down by that evening sun, and that Japanese forest grass there that doesn't like that mega sun during the late evening. So a lot of fun there. And then right beside it I can plant sun-loving perennials and annuals. So all of this is working out one-on-one, so I love it. Let's head over to the west side of our pathway. And now right now we're just going through the things that are inside just outside the grassy knoll, but inside of our pathway. A lot of the things that I'm planting in this space are going to be things that grow 10 to 15 feet tall, you know, very thin, 3, 4, 5 feet in width, to allow me to continue to go through this pathway here, and then still allow me to plant where I can still get you know, annuals and perennials to grow just inside the borders of our property and just inside the borders of this grassy knoll area. So right here we have a royal purple smoke tree, again staying true to that 10-15 feet length, height, and the short width. This will get 12 to 15 feet tall, and it will get wider. I have limbed it up, and I will continue to limb it up. A couple reasons for that. I really like this this structure here. Gives me a different element to the garden, but I also like I actually need more sun to hit things on the bottom, because this is more of my most sunny area below it. So in order to continue to give these sun-loving perennials the attention they need from the elements, I have to keep some of this stuff limbed up so they can thrive in this area. I do have a few hydrangeas behind it that would like a little bit more sun. Nonetheless, there are a few little blooms on it, but I think they'd be happier if I continue to limb this up, and in due time I will. I just haven't got to it. And if you haven't seen, they put off this little ashy bloom. It's kind of fun. You'll just have to go. It's very faint, but from a distance it looks like smoke. That's why they call it the smoke tree. But nonetheless, you can go and research that and see if you want to put it on. They are no fuss again. A lot of these trees again are no fuss, other than a couple of these trees are going to drop. Most of these trees are going to drop their leaves, and then I just I'd keep all the leaf structure and everything into the ground, into our garden, and just continue to allow it to fertilize and give life to the annuals, perennials, and the trees that are in this garden. I'm not a big fertilized guy. In fact, I don't fertilize anything except for the hydrangeas. So everything you see growing right now is just eating off of last year's material and the bark that has broken down over the years. Nothing here is fertilized. So when I carried out that video a couple weeks ago, or probably about a week ago, that said, you know, hey, some of my stuff's splitting. I think that tends to be, I'm not overwatering it, I'm not fertilizing it at all. I think it's just getting to the point now where I just need to kind of separate and divide. I think that's where I'm at. This clay soil holds any kind of moisture, but we're not getting enough moisture right now. I only water the grass to keep it alive. And then hot summer months, I have that drip hose below here that I drilled the holes into the water hoses to keep anything below healthy. A lot of these junipers and cypress and stuff, they won't want the water that you would think. So yeah, moving right along. Right behind it, we have a blue arrow juniper that grows about 12 to 15 feet tall, and we'll get that 3 to 4 foot wide. I think this is probably one of my more favorite. I love the color of it. It stays super narrow, and it's just thriving in this space. On the other side, I have the water feature that we put in, and it just kind of encapsulates it. It kind of just feels like that was left there a long time ago, and then all of a sudden here came this tree and started growing up beside it, and this juniper just plays so well with this space right here. Again, no fuss. I tend to worry about it when we get heavy snows and it kind of weighs the branches down, but I just come out here and shake them off. I don't even know if I need to do that because I haven't never lost any kind of branches or even felt like I was going to lose any branches. I'm just probably an overthinker and an overstressor, so I get out here and I do my best to keep this stuff happy as I can be. Happy, and you notice I said happy as I can be because it probably has survived with a ton of snow on it, but for me, I need to be happy knowing that nothing's going to happen to it. So again, no fuss, no needle drops. Typically they might get a couple berries, but not very much at all. But it allows a lot of the birds to build nests in there, and that's a fun little add for me when adding things to the garden. And again, during the winter, I have so much evergreen structure between the cypress and the junipers that it allows for different birds to get in out of the elements, and they just kind of tend to make this garden their home. Okay, turning around here, I've got a green giant arborvitae. Again, nothing special about it. It's fast growing. I can limb it up. It takes real well to limbing. I can limb it up, no fuss. Everything's good about it. And then I can add that to, if you're doing any kind of planters, or I wouldn't say planters, more like a floral arrangement. You could add that to it, or if you're going into the winter and you want to put something up at the front of your yard, kind of a planter, I suppose. It holds that green for quite some time before it dies off. So I can do all that, and eventually I will limb this up, but right now it's kind of in its happy space between it and myself. I'm happy with it, so I'm not going to be doing anything. Again, when the sun or when the snow falls on these, I don't worry about splitting, I don't worry about breaking, but I do come out here and just kind of give it some love, shake it off a little bit, and just keep it healthy. And again, it gives another windbreak for the birds and little critters, rabbits and stuff. I'm not a big fan of the rabbits coming to the garden, but during the winter I don't mind. They just need a little happy home to make themselves happy. So yeah, but all in all, this is a great addition to the garden as well. Again, I tend to keep things narrow and tall going into this space to give that privacy, because I have that one element where on this pathway we are trying to pull ourselves away from the neighbors, but once you walk into that grassy knoll, you're definitely going to pull yourself away from everything that's going on. Right here I have a tiger's eye sumac. It grows 10 to 12 feet tall. It'll get about 12 to 15 feet in spread, which is fun. I don't have any fuss about this. This is going to be a huge jumper off of the screen once fall comes. It's got some beautiful color to it. Again, I like that wood structure below. I really adore it. It's a lot of fun to this garden. And then if you can see, let me pull back a little bit. I am here on this pathway, and then I stuck that clear out on the edge of the border so that it will reach for the sun, one, so pulling it towards that grassy knoll. That's one of those things that, as I've learned over the years, if you add something that really thrives to be in the sun, you put it in just a little bit of shade, it will pull itself towards that happy space that it wants to be between it and the sun. And you can see here that it's pulling its way that way, so it's working out well because I do have more arborvitaes and different things that are just on the front side of it that keeps it happy. So real easy. I just come in here and I snap off a limb. I can literally snap off a limb with a with just the crack of my thumb, and it adapts. It's just really fun. It's going to grow, and if you can imagine, it's going to get up here into this space and then grow towards that grassy knoll, which will be fun. But the overall beauty of this is it's kind of whimsical for me. I use that word a lot, but come fall, it's a game changer for that space there in the garden. And then I have all these upright different evergreens, right? So then this kind of breaks up that everyday upright feature and then kind of spreads out. So I can't wait for it to fill in this blank space here and continue to grow up into this space right here. And again, just another addition to the garden that makes me happy. Right here we have an emerald green arborvitae. It's going to get 10 to 15 feet tall, but again, stay within that 4 feet wide range, allowing me to underplant and plant things around it, give enough shade for the things that are growing down here. I've got a juga, I've got some forest grass, I've got a hydrangea that don't like the sun very much, so but then I can drop in these millennial alliums and just in between the two trees, and it still gets the desired sun it would like. So hostas in front are getting that morning sun, but then get that evening shade. So again, it's all playing one-on-one with each other. This is a tree, however, I will, inside there are connections to keep the tree from folding out. This will succumb to any kind of heavy snow. When I say succumb, I mean it will lean a branch left to the right or right to the left, whichever the snow falls, and then it could snap or split, and it definitely splits. So a lot of people will wrap these completely around with a rope during the winter to keep that tight structure. I haven't done that yet, but I do keep a rope inside that's keeping all the branches together. So if you're planning on adding one of these to the garden, do your research, and then you better know that you have the ability to get out into that garden, or that want to get out in the garden, to keep it from splitting. Because if you get snow in your area, and if you get a lot of snow in your area, it's going to be tough to not lose a branch. But I'm sure it's being done, and I applaud you for it, because it is a lot of maintenance to make sure. But it does not drop petals. It's not a thirst sucker. It does quite well. Let's move on here. We've got this Arizona blue cypress, pyramid cypress. I think it's in its happy zone, and I use it as a limb up. Let me get around here. Hopefully I'm not touring too fast for you, but I'll come over here, and you can see it's got that pyramid shape as it goes, and it's not a tight structure. It kind of got those branches that kind of go everywhere. Best feature for me right now is that it has that blue, so it's dropping that blue hint based off of all the backside, the greens and stuff. Let me come up here on the porch. But again, very beautiful. You can see I've already started to limb it up because it gets wide at the base, and I don't want it to go into my sidewalk. So I'll continue to limb it up, and it's okay if eventually it hangs over the top of the sidewalk. Again, I'm going for that old look, that more mature desire in the garden. So you can see that just adds so much color to the screen. You can see all the different colors behind it. I've got that halo dogwood variegated spot, and then I've got the spirea and different things that are growing around it. But you can see how well that blue just plays with that space right there, and kind of eases the eye into the next trees. Which the next tree is another green giant arborvitae. It's going to continue to give me shade and that height that I'm looking for inside that grassy knoll area. Again, no fuss trees right here. That blue cypress, it does not drop any of its petals. It holds its color. You can see there's a couple dead brown branches inside. I can go in there and clean that up, but overall it's happy with that. And then you can see the little Frankie boy ARBORVITAE below, and the different things that I just add to the garden to kind of play off of one another. But we'll head to the grassy knoll. So right here I have 3 Taylor junipers. They're good about 30 feet tall, which is what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for that height, and then it get stay to that 3 to 4 foot wide. But I don't have anything other than this Japanese maple over here to give me that canopy structure. If I pan you around nice and slow here, you can see I have that eastern redwood that's going to continue to give me that canopy structure, and it'll come into this space right here because I've got plenty of room. So I don't want to add any more canopy type structures through here, because once I get to this Japanese maple, it's going to give me that canopy structure over here. So I think if I planted anything that would enclose these junipers, I would just lose them because there wouldn't be enough sun. So again, on the other side, I've got sun planted shrubs that just thrive in the sun, don't want any shade, that can take all the sun I can give it. And then on the back side here, I use these junipers and different structures to give me the shade I need to plant up these shade loving perennials. So these hostas and heuchera and mondo grass are just thriving in this space, and it's all because I planted 3 upright Taylor junipers to give me that shade loving love here on this inner grassy knoll area. So that's a lot of fun. And then last but not least, over here I wanted that whimsy, right? So gotta continue my pattern of whimsy. But right here I have a blue Cascade Atlas cedar. I think it's a lot of fun. You can see it's cascading into this side of the garden and towards the other side of the moon gate. Now eventually one day I'm hoping that it's going to come down here and not impede the pathway and not to cover up the moon gate in any way. I don't want that at all, but I'm going to kind of try to guide it back here down into this space here. But I really like it. There goes a rabbit and the birds. But yeah, overall I think I'm doing it right when it comes to this. It would like a little bit more sun, I'm sure, but it does get beat down with that everyday evening sun, which is fine. It makes up for the morning sun that it doesn't get. But you can see in the overall structure of this grassy knoll area that I've got all the upright that I want in these evergreens, and we're getting closer. Again, these trees are about, some of them are 6-7 years old. Remember, I've lived here for almost 9, coming in September. So I didn't do anything in the first month that we worked on the interior of the home, because we were just going to flip the home and move on. So we wanted to be in the country. Couldn't find anything in the country in our Johnson County area. The kids loved the school. The school was rated like top 10 in the nation. So we ended up just staying, and because we could not find that happy space. But guess what? That accident turned into a happy accident, because now we're thriving here. And so the kids are all out of school now. 2 of them have graduated college already and moved on, or getting ready to move on. And we've got a lot going on in this garden in that time. So we're looking at about 7 years for some of these trees that have been in here. Some of them that I planted were, 10-12 feet tall. And then some of the stuff that I planted was only a couple feet tall. But all in all, everything is kind of just coming together. And eventually, as time goes on, this grassy knoll area will continue to grab the shade from all these trees above us and just be beautiful. And that's what I'm looking at. Some of these trees, I wouldn't say will have to come out of the ground or anything. That's not what I'm looking for, but they're gonna have to figure out how to work together, right? So it's just like a forest for me. A forest figures it out. Some things are probably going to be thinner, and the more dominant trees are going to take over, and that's okay. I think that they can work themselves out the way, if I pan down here, that these sun-loving or shade-loving, whichever you prefer, shrubs and plants and perennials play with each other, right? The more dominant ones will take over, but some of the not dominant ones will just have enough to just poke through to give that color and break up that space, break up the eye, and kind of poke its way through. And I think all in all, eventually this will all just be a beautiful space. And it's probably a lot of words to explain this, but this is what we do here at this garden, and hopefully eventually all the lanterns that I start hanging and all the lighting that I start hanging from these canopies will just be one more great, beautiful element to our garden. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you're new to the channel, hit the like, hit the subscribe. I'm normally not this long-winded. I typically just get to the point and move on, but I've been asking to do this tree tour for a long time, so here we are. We've done it. Hopefully this will help a lot of you, maybe give you some ideas. Definitely do your research before, and then be that good neighbor to your surrounding neighborhood to make sure that you're not planting a beautiful fast-growing canopy tree over someone's beautiful lush garden bed with tomatoes and peppers and the things that make them happy. So be that good neighbor and get in there and visit, and good luck with planting. Again, if you're new to the channel, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Continue to go with me on this journey. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.